So, I want to start streaming, but I don't want to show my face or just have it be my art on screen. My solution? To become a VTuber. Well, not exactly a VTuber, more of a PNG tuber. However, I will also be live streaming with it. I'm not sure what to call it, but I made it work. Starting off, I had to draw all my wonderful emotions I wanted. I ended up not being able to decide, and I just drew a sketch of all 25 emotions that I came up with to then still be unsure on what I wanted to focus on. So I'm just going to fully draw them all as frames. So, like I said, I'm just drawing it all as frames where I just kind of figure out my outline and then I just go ahead and color it after I do my outline. Pretty simple stuff. I've gotten pretty fast at doing this, so I wasn't too worried because I already sketched everything out. Because I wrote down all the different emotions I wanted, so I'm like, I gotta have someone that's mad, someone that's sad. I'm like, ooh, a cool person with shades would be cool. I need a neutral face for myself, so I should probably do one that's kind of I called it bored, but it's more neutral. Just naming off different emotions that you'll see in everyday talking, right? And I'm pretty emotional when I talk, so sometimes I'm really ecstatic when I say something. Sometimes I'm like, nah, it doesn't really matter. I don't really do a nerd voice per se, but I do get very well, did you know about this fun little fact? And while that's not really nerdy, it's giving you information, so I'm putting it under nerd. It's kind of like the same thing. I really liked my nerd one because I added glasses to it, and I thought the glasses looked really good. You got annoyed, like, what are you talking about here, man? Just different emotions that I just thought of randomly, I would just write down. And then I sketched it all out, and I'm like, I have no idea what I want here. So I'm just drawing it all out to see if I can find one that I like more. That I'm like, oh my gosh, I really want this emotion to show who I am and what I do when it comes to streaming or who my character is. And if not, I just have a lot of pre-done emotions for my character that I'll use now because I don't know what else I'm gonna do with them if I don't use them for something. It's just random frames I've made. I mean, it's never a waste to draw something in art because you don't have to use the art you do. It's for fun. But I kind of want to use the art I do. I got pleading because it's like, come on, guys, come on, just a little bit more, just a little bit more. Just kind of moments like that when you play a game, you get excited when you're doing stuff. Because I'm going to use this for both drawing and playing games when I'm streaming. Because the goal is to just kind of show what I'm doing right now, which is drawing, but instead of sped up to 1,000, it's when I'm drawing it. Because this honestly only took me about an hour to draw all of these frames. Really didn't take that long because I had it all pre-sketched out. Sketching honestly takes about the same amount of time as outlining and coloring does, but I'm also being very simple in this because it's animated, but my drawing style in general is very simple in how I draw, so, but, you got your excited, devious, you got, oh, I'm not so sure about that, kind of questioning, but a little afraid. So, and what's really helpful with this is when I was using Krita, I figured out palettes, so I just had to use the same colors over and over again. I really liked my shock, just kind of the draw top to the floor, but I can't do that in reality, right? But it's that. And I've always used this character to show me. I've never thought of using a different character. The cam character has always kind of been like, oh, that's my persona. That's the person I show up as. So that's you. When you have multiple characters, you eventually go to one character that is kind of like you when you're drawing. So this is mine that I see as me, but of course I have other characters I could have chosen as my VTuber. But I've always used Cam to show as me on my YouTube channel. So I'm just gonna keep doing that, and I'll use it for streaming too, because why not? So You know, it's my character that's got all the colors possible. You gotta include cam, you know? That's how I came up with cam, was I'm like, alright, how can I use the rainbow in a character? How can I show that? And I was able to figure it out, you know? Blue hair, you do opposite colors for the shirt, red on the jacket to then go to orange on the pants, because pants are typically a version of orange with the darker browns or something. And then for the shoes, it was pink and green. That's what I ended up with the shoes, is pink and green. And obviously you don't get to see that because I'm stopping it at the skirt because I don't want to do full body, but I do want to have it take a good portion of the screen up to show that like the little mouth is going up and down when I do set this up. So there you go. I really liked my shade characters because it's like, I'm cool. I like the kind of like the I'm a cool person type of thing. But I also like show a lot of annoyance when I talk about things sometimes. So I had more than one version of my character showing an emotion of being annoyed or like showing me explain something. Another thing is I get really excited about things when I do stuff too, though. So I have more than one version of excitement. I really don't get sad that often, so I didn't really do a lot of sad versions of drawing, because like I just don't show sadness that often. It's typically a pretty happy and let's go and yippee and just kind of go with the flow when I'm going with other people. So there's that, and I'm almost done with this. It took quite a bit. I started looking at all of them and like how do they look compared to the others, because like I didn't want things changing too much, and I did realize I forgot to do a sad emotion, so I had to add that really quickly. I'm like going through my list and checking it off on paper while double checking it on the digital thing. That's another thing, is paper is very useful to me because I use it a lot when you do projects like this on video. So there you go. Okay, I gotta pick my top 5 now. As I'm flipping through all of these wonderful pictures, I end up on 5 total emotions. The winners are happy, bored, depressed, mad, and nerd. I feel like that's a good mix, and it's not a lot, but not a little either. It can get a wide range of emotions, and one day I can add on to them again. Now, I have to figure out how I'm implementing these guys into OBS to then stream, and I end up looking at all the different tuber versions and see some really complicated setups and then some pretty simple ones. So I went towards a more simple version because I don't want 50 plus add-ons to OBS. So I mainly got this idea from Shindings. Go into the description to see their video that I got the idea from. Anyway, I get an add-on for image reaction. All it does is make it to where OBS will swap images based on how loud or soft I am with my voice. Okay, so I added an OBS plugin, and then I put my keys on to where I can just kind of quickly switch between 2 things, and it's like, oh, I'm freaking out, blah, 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 blah. Oh my gosh, it's horrible, and then, okay guys, I think we're okay, we're gonna be alright for a little bit, it's gonna be fine. I also set it up here if I want to have like a little bigger talk. I am going to make everything into GIFs though, because I think that's going to work better with the setup. This way, I don't need a camera setup. Yes! The issue is it's really choppy, but image reaction also has an option to use GIF files. That means I can make some extra frames with like blinking and moving just a little to give the illusion of a fancier setup. This does mean though that I have to draw more and make more work for myself though. Alright, back to drawing frames for both a silent and talking version of each emotion to then put it in an editing software and export it as a GIF because I can't have anything be simple. Alright, so starting off I went to animation, copy pasted my board person, and then made my version of their mouth being closed. To give the character like variation while still standing still and having that same pose, I just took away my outline frame and kept my coloring frame to draw over it, and then I filled in whatever extra things I made. So then it looked like there was difference. And then I took those two differences and I had the character close their eyes, right? And I do that both for when it's the silent GIF and the talking GIF, because these are being turned into GIFs is what the goal is. And so I'm doing that so that it's the same either way. There's not going to be a big change, because I don't want there to be a big change, right? I'm animating. I then also later added an in-between mouth to show, because when you're talking, you can have quieter things happen, and then, like, you're not silent. Like, you're still talking. So it goes from, like, your maximum to middle, then to your minimum. And then I had to put that in an editing bay and crop things down. And I was rotating between doing, like, a 0.3 of a second or a 0.6 of a second. And this is based on, like, if you're doing 30 FPS. I do everything in 30 FPS because it's 24 and 30. Video typically does a 30 to 60. So I do 30 to make it easier on myself. But so I eventually ended up with 0.6, and then I put it all together, and then I extracted it, and then I had to do it for the other one. So I did everything for talking. Now I have to do all of that for when I'm silent. So thankfully it's all numbered the same. So it's pretty easy to just switch that, and then I have to do that for all the other emotions too. But now I got to test it also in OBS to make sure it works. Okay, so I think this will work really well for me. I've added the GIF. It's got a lot more interaction now. It does seem a little jittery sometimes switching between the two, but I am having more movement. My one thing is if I don't do anything for a while, is I blink a lot. So I'll probably add some more space, probably like 3 seconds or 2 seconds instead of the 1 second. Probably 3 seconds then, because it happens so fast. So I'm gonna elongate that on both sides, add the ending thing, and I think that's gonna call it good. So I actually ended up doing 4 seconds on them, and just so it's not blinking so much. It was blinking too much for me. But now I gotta go in and do that for all the other ones. So now I'm doing the happy version, right? Where you get the different type of frame to switch between the two. And then I have to color it in. And that took a while doing the recolorings of it. But I think it was worth it because it looks cooler because of that. And then all I do is I make the eyes close. And then when I go to the mouth, I just kind of close the mouth and make it work. And then I do an in-between frame between the two mouths. That way it's just, you know, your minimum, maximum, and then your middle again. So just make that easy on myself. But I just kept doing that for the 5. This was pretty simple because it's just it's only 5 emotions, so it's not the end of the world about making it, you know. 5 emotions, I'd say about 5 different frames that you're actually making. So, like, they weren't very difficult frames to make because you've already had it based on something else. So that was nice. Nerd was a little difficult because I had to change the darn glasses for the variation and make sure that that also went with the different outline and coloring. So that was a little annoying. And I also had to avoid the eyeglasses when I changed the eyes because it's all in the same outline frame. So besides that, though, I was pretty happy with how Nerd looked out. I actually added another frame on my middle frame. What I ended up doing with the middle frame is I have my arm move over a bit, because I didn't like that the finger was just kind of in the same position the whole time, because you do move your arm when you hold your arm up. And all the other ones I don't really have my arms folded up. They're either down or just to the side, and you don't really move a lot when you do it that way, you know. But when you have your arm, you do move your arm over a bit. So I did have the hand move over just to give myself a little bit of a difference. And it was kind of annoying making that. I will admit, it took me a second. But I think it's adjusted just enough to where it kind of still works. It might still be, like, look a little jittery and kind of like, that's kind of a jump to happen there. But what I see with the PNG stuff is there's always a bit of a jump when it comes to those things. So I'm not too worried about it that way. But And then when it came to like the mad and depressed ones, I also decided to have the line guys move over a bit or like be less. I had those change a bit more compared to like the just redoing the outline on them. Just so there's a clear difference on it, you know. It I want things to be different, you know. I don't want it to be the same exact frame that's happening, and I don't think I'm wrong in that, you know. Now, doing it this way does involve you knowing a little bit more animation skills, right? With the other way where it's just two images, you know, you draw your two frames and you're done. By doing it with the GIFs, I do have to use more of my animation skills than I normally would have. And honestly, I think this works out because if I ever change or upgrade to a more complicated setup, I'll already have the frames that will be needed. So, because the more complicated setups are like you use the frames and then you have this add-on and then you have this other add-on to work with this, and you gotta have it named a certain way. All those frames, they have to be named a certain way for them to work, and I'm just like, I can't do that. So I thought I felt it was easier to just make GIFs of everything and just draw it. So I'm still doing like the same amount of artistic work, but when it comes to technology work, I'm doing a lot less, which is what I wanted, because I can do the artist side. I just can't do the technology side. It is easy, and I think that's why a lot of people don't do like a pngtuber or a VTuber, because you have to know more technology to make it work. At the same time, though, if you have technology, you can make your videos faster. So there's a give and a take to it all, and I think I found a really good balance with it by adding the GIF this way, because it follows it pretty well. I was really happy with how well that the mouth followed me when I was talking. Alright, I now have it set up for recording and live streaming as I draw. The thing is, each time I change my emotion, it disappears for about a very tiny millisecond, half a second. My solution is to not get another OBS thing so I can add transitions between other things, but to be able to change this in post-production, because, I mean, who cares if it disappears for a second while I'm live streaming? I shouldn't be changing my emotions that much on live stream anyway. I'm going to be too focused on what I'm drawing. However, when I'm recording voice lines, I'll want to change my emotions a lot. So I also need to add transitions from each emotion to another emotion. Typically, this would be 20 transitions, and it is. The difference is I can make a 5-second reversible transition, so I can just draw half the amount of frames that I'll need to. Alright, this is where I really used a lot of my art skills, is right here. Because what I had to do is I had to go into my original one, copy paste the 2 frames I want into a separate place I want to draw. Then in my animation software, right, I gotta erase on each frame, on each layer, actually. I have the frames and then I have to erase the layer that it's based on to then merge it together. And I messed up more than once on that merging part. It got messed up a lot. Now I do the sketches, and what I did for the sketches, right, these in-between frames, transitioning them, what I did is I do my middle frame, and then I would do the next frame. So then I would figure out what would the next one be on either side, right? So I think that, because the middle frame is what's going to ground me to make sure I'm doing it. And there was more than one time where it's like, there's not a lot of difference between the frames, but it's something. It's something. So there's some, though, that I needed all 5 frames to really transition it to the next one. Like on all the nerd ones where I'm adding glasses into it, I just have Cam take the glasses out of the pocket to transition to it. And the other thing with this is some of them were like, my character's head was like a little smaller than the original one because I'm like leaning forward or leaning backward within the frame. So I had to adjust that too. Now, starting off, right, I first had to figure out how I'm going to draw it, right? So I sketch it out and then I outline all of them. And because of that sketch out, it took a lot longer to do. And then the outlining was a little difficult because it was weirder poses. They're not poses I'm used to doing as much. So those in between frames, you got your in between. I'm used to doing my keyframe poses, and that's about it. So I'm not the best at doing in between frames, I think. But when I looked at the transition, even though it went really fast, I think it looked all right. It got it across that I'm going from this one to the next one, and it's not just boop, we're here now. So because of that, I think it was better. So, and then I gotta color it all, and I am not used to coloring in the animation thing. I normally just like outline it and then color it in the big paint version. But when I was on animation for Krita, it has it because I have the palette, so I don't need to. I'm not getting random colors. I have the palette colors, so I was able to do it between fill and color in myself, and I'm kind of happy I did it because I learned a new skill doing it that way. I was very unused to it though, but I did learn a new skill that way. It kind of made everything go faster because coloring would have taken a lot longer if I didn't figure out how to use how to color basically in the animation setup, because I didn't want to switch back and forth the whole entire time, and it was gonna make me switch back and forth the whole entire time if I did it that way. Anyway, at the end, we'll merge it all together and then export it just so it's all under the same roof. So, to make my life easier, alright, I decided that I'd just prep everything. So I'd merge it all together correctly, and then I would sketch everything out that I need. So you copy and paste the layers, you make your keyframes, and you have your blank frames, you merge them together, and then it's sketching time where I do it in the middle, and then I sketch the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And that took a while, I'm going to be honest, but it only took about an hour, hour and a half to do that. It actually took me like 3 hours to get everything outlined and colored. And that's because it's like, oh, that's not that much, because it's five people. So it's 10 total drawings you're making. Well, if you're doing 5 frames in each thing, that adds up to 50 drawings. So previously I had my, 25 that was pre-sketched and done. So I'm sketching this out, and then I have to outline and color them, and it's 50 instead of 25. And I did the 25 in about an hour, hour and a half. So it matches up when you do the math, because I'm doing about twice the amount of work. So hour and a half times 2, that's 3 hours. Well, that makes sense why it took me about 3 hours to outline and color them, because I didn't include the sketching time when I did the first batch of emotions that I wanted. But so I started off by sketching out all of the nerd frames first, because those glasses really gonna annoy me, and I'd basically be doing the same pull out the glasses from the pocket thing each time. At least with the other ones, there's variations in what you're doing and how you're going to combine them together, but the glasses one had to include that movement every single time because it's the only one that has glasses in it, and it was rather annoying to sketch out and then draw. But I was really happy with how it ended up. So pick your battles, I guess. If you put in the hard work, you get what you want. And I got what I wanted with this, which was transitions between each thing. Now, I probably won't use these transitions as much as I'm hoping to, but I've made it. It's too late now. Like, it's made, it's done, it's over with. There's not much more I could do or change, so it is what it is. But so I'm just sketching and sketching and sketching more and more and more, and it takes forever to do. And I kind of got tired of drawing after a while because of it, That's the thing with animation. You gotta be willing to put in that time and effort to make it happen. And what I really love is because I have these transitions. If I ever make a more complicated setup on OBS, I have the frames. I have the frames to do the transitions, so it's just me doing technology work and not having to worry about like, oh, and now I have to draw all these frames for all these emotions. Now, what does suck is when I want to add a new emotion, I have to add a transition to all the other previous emotions for that new emotion, and that's kind of lame. You know, that's a lot of effort just to add one new emotion. But that means I will never be stranded and have to draw something really quickly randomly because I didn't do the prep before, because I'm doing the prep now. And it was a lot of prep to do all of this, and it was not the most fun, but I did it all and I got it completed for the most part. So man, I really I more than one time messing up on the outlines and combining outliners together when they're supposed to be separate on Krita and the animation thing. So I don't enjoy copy pasting layers to then get the correct layers together, but you can't make a layer into a keyframe, which sucks because I want it to be a keyframe. I guess I could have gotten to the animation software copy pasted, but I think it would still copy paste as a layer. So this was about as simple as I could make it for myself. So, and then on the mad and depressed thing, I had to remember to add the lines, and there was a few times where I messed up eyebrows because I thought that the eyebrows went straight when they were also curved. Like when you go from nerd to bored, the eyebrows are still curved the same way. So there's I corrected it later, but it was very easy to mess up and not do it correctly. So, but the great thing is when you have it prepped and you have it pre-sketched out, it's so easy to just, oh, all I have to do now is listen to music or, you know, go listen to a podcast, something that like takes up your mind a little more, so that I could just, you know, it turns into automatic when you do the outline and coloring at that point, because you're not having to think about, oh, did I do this thing correctly? Oh, is this the way it's supposed to be? As much, because it's pre-sketched. It's pre-done for you. So it's pretty easy to just keep it going. Alright, it took quite a while for me to get it all completed, right? So when it came to the drawing and the outlining and the coloring, that part, right? It took a little bit longer to get into it, but when I got into it, I got it done relatively quickly. Like we did the math previously and it's the same, but while you're doing it, I honestly felt like I was going slower than I did with the other ones at the beginning, but I really wasn't. I was going the same speed, but it just felt slower, and it's just those different poses that I'm not used to really got me. It really messed me up on that. Just doing those different poses that are like those in between kind of weird looking ones where like you can see the bend of the arm but you can't at the same time, and you just gotta imagine that it's there. It's just those ones always get me, specifically just where you bend the arm and it's there but it's not, that bend. That one always gets me. It always kind of, I have a difficult time with that. Now the hands weren't too difficult, you know. If anything, I was worried about the faces the most because I didn't want to make the face too big compared to the previous one that I had sketched out and done. That was a bit of a worry. And then, I didn't really forget to do, like, the angry, depressed, like, little effects. Those were, because they were in the sketch, it was pretty simple and easy to do and make, so not too many issues with that stuff. Although, it did take a lot of time, but, you know, again, just put on some music or a podcast or an audiobook. Audiobooks are fun to do at that point because you can just listen to the story that's going on, and you don't really, your brain doesn't really pay attention to what you're drawing as much, but the drawing still comes out really good. And then like an hour's passed by and you have stuff done and it all looks really cool and it's awesome. The other thing that I had to do was I had to go into editing and go set it all up. Now, what was nice with the editing is because I knew what I wanted and knew the time that I wanted, I could just go into settings, and every time it would add a clip, it would be at that time. So then I was just dragging and dropping clips, putting it in the right order, exporting, and then reversing the order, right? Because you have to do both sides of the transition to then export it again. And, you know, you have to rename it each time you export. And I also decided to add an extra thing where I also save the Kdenlive file. That way I just had it all together if I ever needed to change or affect anything. And it made everything go really simple. I got this done in like 20 minutes. It was really nice and easy compared to the 3 hours it took to draw it all. Alright, with that last part, I think we're finally done with this. I am really happy with being able to get this done. It has been really awesome figuring this out, even though it has been a lot to do, and I am very tired after doing all of this. I am super pumped that I got it all done and that it's all working well. I do hope you enjoyed the video and have a wonderful year.